experiences have been the result of intense self-directed learning. Although I didn't know the word ultralearning at the time, one of my first ultralearning projects was photography. In late 2009, I moved to Scotland for a few months. It was my first time living abroad, and given the beautiful scenery throughout the Scottish Highlands, I figured I should buy a decent camera. What I hadn't expected, however, was that I would fall in love with the process of taking photos. What followed was one of the most creative periods of my life. I learned photography through a variety of methods. I studied the portfolios of famous photographers. I scouted locations and searched for compelling perspectives. But, most of all, I learned through one simple method. I took over 100,000 photos that first year. I never enrolled in a photography class. I didn't read books on how to become a better photographer. I just committed to relentless experimentation. This learning by doing approach embodies one of my favorite chapters in this book and Scott's third principle of ultralearning, directness. Directness is the practice of learning by directly doing the thing you want to learn. Basically, it's improvement through active practice rather than through passive learning. The phrases learning something new and practicing something new may seem similar, but these two methods can produce profoundly different results. Passive learning creates knowledge. Active practice creates skill. This is a point that Scott more fully clarifies and refines in Chapter 6. Directness leads to skill development. You can research the best instructions on the bench press technique, but the only way to build strength is to practice lifting weights. You can read all of the best-selling sales books, but the only way to actually get customers is to practice making sales calls. Learning can be very useful, of course, but the danger is that the act of soaking up new facts can be disconnected from the process of refining a new skill. You can know every fact about an industry and still lack real-world expertise because you haven't practiced the craft. Scott understands the difficulty of actually learning new skills. I respect him not only for the quality of his writing, but also for the simple fact that he is a practitioner of his own ideas. I can't say enough how important this is. He has skin in the game. Many ideas sound brilliant on paper, but fail in the real world. As the saying goes, in theory, there is no difference between theory and practice, but in practice, there is. Footnote. Credit for this quote has been given to a handful of people over the years, but I believe the earliest source is from 1882 when a student named Benjamin Brewster wrote in the Yale Literature magazine, "I heard no more, for I was lost in self-reproach that I had been victim of vulgar error. But afterwards, a kind of haunting doubt came over me. What does his lucid explanation amount to but this, that in theory there is no difference between theory and practice, while in practice there is?" As for my photography quest, it didn't take long for my commitment to direct practice to pay off. A few months after I had bought my camera, I traveled to Norway and ventured above the Arctic Circle to capture an image of the aurora borealis. Not long afterward, I was named a finalist for the Travel Photographer of the Year, thanks to that image of the Northern Lights. It was a surprising outcome, but also a testament to how much progress you can make during a short but intense period of learning. I never pursued a career as a photographer. It was an ultra-learning project I did for fun and personal satisfaction. But a few years later, right around the time I first met Scott, I began another period of intense learning with a more utilitarian outcome in mind. I wanted to become an entrepreneur, and I figured writing would be one path that could get me there. Once again, I had selected a domain where I had little formal experience. I had no entrepreneurs in my family, and I had taken only a single college English class. But as I read through Ultralearning, I was startled to find that Scott explained in nearly step-by-step fashion the process I followed to go from unproven entrepreneur to best-selling author. Principle number 1, meta-learning. I started by examining other popular bloggers and authors. Their methods helped me to create a map for what I needed to do to become a successful writer. Principle number 2, focus. I went full-time as a writer nearly from the start. Aside from a few freelance projects I took on to pay the bills, the vast majority of my time was spent reading and writing.